How's it going, peoples? Cooliex the Dragon here with another episode of Dragonspeak for you guys. So, how you guys been enjoying Season 3 so far? Hope you're enjoying the new stuff and the continuation of the old stuff, too. I think I like 2 more new projects I have to post up for you guys before I forget them. But, don't worry, they'll be nice, fun ones for you. But anyway, I wanted to do another episode of Dragonspeak, and I had this really nice idea for an episode that's been mulling in my head for a while, but I had to finish 3 certain projects first before I could do it. So now that those projects are done, I can do this episode. So let's switch title cards so you can see which episode I'm cooking up for you today. Here we are, episode 4, A Dragon's Advanced Opinion. To be honest, I've been waiting to do this episode for the longest. Ever since I finished the Sonic Advance series on my channel here, I went to do a video where I go through my thoughts on what I think of each of them as separate games and everything like that, because I have a lot to say. Well, I don't know if I have a lot to say. Well, you know me, guys. Screw it. I ramble. You know me, so yeah, I have plenty to say. But I really wanted to go through each advanced game myself, using my own clips and everything like that, and show my honest opinion on what was good about the game, what was bad about them, and everything like that. So, being that I am I don't say a huge fan, but I am a big fan of Sonic, and I wanted to do my own kind of Sonic episode, since that's what everybody does. So, without further ado, let's break into this 4th episode and see what this dragon here has to say. That's a little quick backstory. I grew up with, Sega Genesis as a kid, and of course playing Sonic 2 being my first Sonic game ever, and I freaking loved the game. I think it was one of the first games I actually ever beat, and when I beat this game for my first time as a kid, it gave me such, I felt so accomplished, because this game, Sonic 2 was really long. Well, it seems short now compared to other Sonic games stuff now, but it was long and really challenging for your first time through. So when you actually beat the game, it's amazing. And I think Sonic 2 paved the way for the rest of the Sonic titles, because it had that. It was a perfect blend of gameplay. Now, I'm just gonna go over some keywords I'm gonna be using in my review here. Well, comparison actually. In my opinion, to have a perfect Sonic game, it has to have a perfect blend of 2 things: high-speed action and platforming. High-speed action is basically, seeing Sonic go really fast and enjoying the blur and enjoying the speed and continuality of just seeing him just whoosh through the level. You have to have that in Sonic game, because that's what makes Sonic games epic. And it also has to have platforming, platform as getting from one part to the map to one part of the stage to the other and stuff like that, and having a challenge involved with it. Now, see, the way Sonic 2, and I think almost all the original Sonics, was that it has the perfect blend of those 2 elements. The first few levels are going to be the more high-speed action and platforming, and as the game progresses, the levels get harder, and it's more platforming than the high-speed action. Obviously, because you're getting towards the end of the game, so it's not about, getting to the goal as fast as you can. It's about, using your brain to actually get there and figure out smart ways to do it without getting yourself killed. And so I'm gonna be using that a lot in my comparisons here. I'm gonna be saying which ones hold true to the to that perfect arc, because you have to have it perfect. If you have too much high-speed action, then the game's too easy and it's not fun. If the whole game was just high-speed action and no platforming, then it's why you pick up the controller? There's no fun to it. There's no challenge. It's not really. It's just boring. And if you have too much platforming, well then you might just go play Mario. No offense to Mario, because I like his games too. But the reason that we like Sonic is because it was high speed and it had a mix of platforming in it. We didn't want all high speed, and we didn't want all platforming. If we wanted just platforming, we just play Mario for all that. So if the game's too platformy and too hard, then it's not going to be fun. It's just going to be feeling more like a Mario game, but with Sonic in it. Speaking of that, that'd be pretty awesome. You know, Mario and Sonic working together in one platform game. But that's just my own twisted logic aside. But anyway, that's my personal opinion. It has to have that perfect arc. It has to have that perfect arc from being high speed to platforming. And if it has that, it's a perfect Sonic game, because then that's the ones you enjoy playing the most. So, now that we've gone through that little quick key there on Legend of like my definitions, let's get started with Sonic Advance 1. Sonic Advance 1. To be honest, before I started any of these playthroughs for my channel, the only one I actually previously played before was Sonic Advance 2. My cousin actually had Sonic Advance 2 for Game Boy Advance, and I was playing on my SP. For those who don't know, that was like the big square like Game Boy Advance. But I actually played on that one. She had like this imported Japanese version, which was kind of weird, but that was the first one I played, and I was really amazed at how nice it was. So I had never really played Sonic Advance 1 before. So needless to say, when I started in this game, I started going a little bit nervous because for some reason I couldn't remember why, but I had bad memories about Sonic Advance 2 for some reason, and I'll tell you what that reason was when we get to Sonic Advance 2. But let's stay on topic here. Sonic Advance 1, I'm gonna just spoil it right now. This was my favorite one out of all three. That's not to say the other two were bad, but this one I feel held closest to the original Sonic formula. This one had the perfect amount of high-speed action and platforming. I beat this game in one sitting, and already right there I was happy with that. You know, I think a lot of times that gamers, I mean like people who make games or developers and stuff like that, they get so wrapped up in the game has to be long and stuff like that, where they forget the fact that it's really just about the gameplay. That's what really matters. It's not about like how long it is and stuff like that. I mean, that does come into play when it comes to buying it. But like, you know, Azura's Wrath, that game was short, but it's a great game. Like, you know, either way. So, same thing with this game. I loved Sonic Advance 1. From beginning to end, I thought it was a perfect game. It held straight to the formula and everything. When I first played this game, I was actually pretty amazed like how nice the animation was in the game. It actually felt like you were playing more like a Sonic Adventure kind of thing, but like in 2D-ish way. I thought that was pretty cool, and it really like gets you hooked to the game. I like the speed of. I like how Sonic was like really fast. Like when he was going fast, the level design was really good. Like they had multiple paths and everything like that. So I really liked that. Another thing I like was, as always, the music. The music I'm playing right now is the music for Snow Mountain Zone. That's my favorite song in the whole entire game. Not to say those. I mean, and I think that's unanimous in every Sonic game, even the bad ones. Like, for instance, on my intro, I use the Ruins level from Sonic 3D Blast. Not a lot of people like that game, but you gotta admit, the music in that game was freaking awesome. And that's the funny thing about Sonic. His games, whether good or bad, he has kick-ass music. You just can't go wrong with his music. It's always great. So yeah, I loved the music in this one. It was really good. There was only two. I think if I had to pick something that was wrong with this game, there's only two things I really had wrong with this game. One was the grinding, and no, I had no problem with Sonic grinding at all. I'm just saying that the grinding mechanic in this game was bad. And this problem's kind of big because they don't fix this stupid problem until part 3, which really pisses me off. In this game, Sonic, in all the advanced titles, Sonic can grind on rails. But the problem was that in part 1 and 2, he can only grind on the rail in the very beginning of the freaking rail. And it's really, really aggravating. Because if you start to grind on the rail, like, let's say you're in the middle of like a big, like, you know, you're going really, really fast, and then like you're in the air, and there's a rail right under you. If you try to get Sonic to jump on it, he'll just go right through it. He won't grind on it, he'll just fall through. Most times it won't cause you any problems, but there's a problem in the very, very last level where if you do that, he falls right through and he dies, and it's just annoying. It's like I said, it's not really that big of a deal because it doesn't really lead you to die a lot, in this one at least. Can't say for the same for the others, but in this one it's not really that much of a problem, so it's nothing you really worry about. The only other small problem I had was this and Snow Mountain Zone Part 2. Yeah, Sonic's spring detection in this game was kind of bad. I mean, you literally had to hit the spring like dead on. And that's not to say that wasn't a problem in like the other Sonic games, because that was how it was in the old Sonic games too. But in a game like this, it kind of got in the way, because that pit there that you just saw, when I first played this game, what wound up happening was that I jumped over the spring and there was a bottomless pit right under there, and I wound up dying. It was one of those stupid cheap deaths, and I was really kind of pissed off about it, but it was like one small gripe about the game. Also, Egg Rocket Zone just pissed the crap out of me. I like really hated this level. Not because I mean I wasn't mad at the game. I wasn't mad at the game, but it's just because it was a really hard level. But at the same time, I accepted it because it's like near the last level. It's like basically like 2 levels from the end of the game. So I expected it to be hard. It was just like a really annoying maze. That was the only thing that kind of irked me about the level. But overall, like, I was fine with it. I was like, you know, it's supposed to be long. It's supposed to be hard. It's like the last part. It's like near the last part of the game. That's how it's supposed to be. So I accepted it. Other than that, I think this game was, like I said, I thought it was awesome. My favorite thing also being the fact was how they did the last boss in the game. How when you first fight Eggman, like he uses the first bosses from part 1 and part 2. I thought that was a really cool send up to like the past Sonic games. I thought that was really well done, and that made me it put a smile on my face when I actually did that. I thought that was great. All in all, like I say, this game I feel was the perfect advanced title. From beginning to end was perfect. It had, and the first few levels were nice and fun and fast paced. The last few levels were really hard and annoying. And it held true to like what Sonic games are known for. It had that perfect blend of fast paced action and platforming. You know, I never, when I built this whole game, I never felt like one was more than the other. You know, it was like, you know, or if it was more than the other, they placed it at perfect timing. You know, it wasn't like the first level was too hard, the last level was too flat, and stuff like that. It was just, it was perfect, and that's why I highly recommend it. That's why if I had to pick any of the Sonic Advance titles, I would highly recommend this one out of all 3 of them, because this one to me was just sheer perfection. I mean, the other ones don't get as perfect as this. Now, I didn't play as the other characters of the game in my playthroughs because I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to make time for all the other Sonic games. I wanted to do, like, you know, Adventure 1 and 2 and Generations and stuff like that. So I didn't really want to, like, beat the game with every single character. I just did most of them with Sonic, which I try to do for, like, you know, all my advanced titles. So it's hard for me to tell how the control and everything was for any of the other characters in the game. I can't really tell you, except for part 3, which I'll explain why when I get to it. But, yeah, like I said, definitely, if you haven't played this one, I would definitely highly recommend you play Advanced 1, at least if you haven't played any of the advances. Like, get on Game Boy, play on emulator like I did, whatever. But definitely check this title out, you will not regret it. So, following my victory on Sonic Advance 1, I went straight to Sonic Advance 2. And I was pleasantly surprised at first. I was getting ready to go, because like I said in the beginning, I had remembered that I had played this for Game Boy Advance and that there was one part I didn't like the game. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well this game's not so bad. I mean, it's awesome. And to be frank, it is pretty awesome. I mean, judging from my curve that I was saying about earlier about having, you know, having fast, high-speed action and platforming, Sonic Advance 2 has a lot more high-speed action than platforming, but it does it in such a good way that it's like pretty freaking awesome. Like, there's like a lot of multiple paths. Sonic is much faster. It's just like freaking amazing. So I'm doing the first 2 levels, and I'm just like amazed about how like awesome the game is so far. I'm like loving it. So let's just go over what's changed in this game. Well, first off, this time when Sonic reaches max speed, he actually has like a nice cool after image, and it makes him like go super fast. And I gotta admit, I really like this change because it actually makes you feel that Sonic is like going like extremely fast. And like I said, that's the reason why you play Sonic games, to enjoy the speed and the rush of it all. The level design, like I said, is much better. It's more of fast-paced action, a lot of rail grinding, a lot of like bouncing and everything like that. And the problem I had with part 1 with the spring detection has been fixed. Now when you're like running, Sonic just has to touch the spring and he bounces off it. It's not no longer he has to actually touch the actual like spring platform and then he'll use it. No, this time his body just touches it and he uses it. It's perfect. It makes it much more cooler when Sonic is like, doing like a really fast combo, like going off a rail and running really fast and the spring's coming up. Now I have to like pause and like stop myself to jump and like get on the spring. Or I could just walk towards it and Sonic bounces off it. It's perfect. I loved it. Like I said, I really enjoyed this game, but you might be wondering yourself, wait a minute, you just said that this was 3rd place. Yes, I did say Sonic Advance 1 was the best, then Sonic Advance 3, and then Sonic Advance 2. Well, if I'm saying all these nice things about it, what's the problem? Well, first problem I had was with the bosses. I don't know what the hell they did, but for some stupid reason, they did this stupid thing. I don't know, it's with all the characters, because once again, I only did Sonic's story, but for some stupid reason, what they did was that now each time when Sonic is fighting Eggman, it's on some stupid chase thing, and I hate it. I really do. It's so stupid. I mean, at first I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, okay, yeah, Sonic running, chasing Eggman. It's alright. Because I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty cool premise. I see what they were doing with this. It's not bad. It's pretty awesome. I didn't have a problem with it. But for every single boss, come on. It's just redundant, and it's just really stupid. It breaks the pace. Another thing I hate about it is just that it's really hard to get the timing down. Mainly because now your speed isn't, based upon, like, how... I mean, because... let me start over. Basically, in the beginning, like, Eggman, like, had, like, special robots, and you get to, like, move around freely and, like, strategize accordingly how to do it. Now you're constantly running forward, and you can't really stop and, like, get footing and stuff like that. And your timing is all effed up because, you're always moving. And it takes forever to get close enough to hit him. Lots of times when you're trying to like get close and hit him, you can't do it because by the time you get close enough, he's like doing his attack and you can't hit him now. It's like the most aggravating thing ever, and I really, really hate that they did that. It was like the most laziest, annoying thing ever. And it takes forever. Another thing is that it takes so many hits to kill him. I mean, in the old Sonics, it was fine because, it's free moving. You can, like, hit him a couple of times, like, get 2-3 hits at a time with, like, when you, like, he's at his weakest. So that was fine for him to have a lot of hits. You can, like, get lots of hits on him. Now, you can't because now you can only hit him one time each time you hit him because you gotta go backwards where he hits you. It just slows the pace down so much. And for a game that was, like, really fast paced, this slowed it down considerably, and I have to say I did not like it. Now, there was one other thing, that truly destroys this game, and it's just one frickin' stage. Sky fucking Canyon. Excuse my language, but I had to curse this to let you know how aggravating this stage was. When I first played this game on Game Boy, this was the stage that killed the game for me because I did not know how to beat it. And once again, when I did it for my playthrough for the channel, this stage got me caught again. This stage alone just halts your entire progress of the game, and for a really stupid reason. This stage right here, it doesn't just, ask, no, it demands perfection. You cannot pass this stage without doing it perfectly, or else you will fall to your death and not make it. I've never had a Sonic stage be so demanding in order to reach the end. And the worst part about this freaking thing was, it's not even the last damn stage. That's how aggravating this stage is. It just drives you up a wall. I literally had to practice for a week to beat this stage. It's just wow. I mean, this is like the one Sonic stage you actually have to practice on. Get that? A stage you have to practice on in order to beat it. It's just, I never heard of it. It was like, I'm just at a loss for words right now just thinking about it. Just thinking about like how long it took me to beat this stage is getting me angry again because wow. But on the real though, this stage is really fun. Once you actually get Sky Canyon down pat, it is a really fun stage because this stage really forces you to like learn all the paths. You have to actually learn all your button combinations because there's no way you can beat this stage without doing it correctly. If you do it wrong, you just fall down into this pit and you gotta start all over again, and it's just aggravating. But no, it's still not done. Even when you manage to beat both Act 1 and 2, the hardest part is not over yet. Then you have to fight one of the hardest bosses in Sonic history. Harder than like most of the end bosses of any Sonic game I've run. This boss, just moment of silence. I'm sorry. This boss is just so aggravating. It's already bad enough that you have to do this stage with utter perfection. Now you have to fight a boss, and I already told you how much I hate the bosses, but this one in particular is the reason why I hate them even more. This boss not only is very annoying, he has a laser that can hit you, but no, the laser's not even the hard part. It's the freaking hand. My goodness, it has crazy range, and it can one-shot kill you. Yes, I do not lie, even if you have rings, the freaking hand can smack you and kill you in one hit. If you look across any like Sonic fan or anybody who's played this game, they will unanimously tell you that this stage is just like one of the hardest Sonic stages ever. And it's not even because like it's just hard. It's not just hard because it's like just because it demands perfection, but it's also hard just because the boss and everything. Just the fact that it just requires so much just to beat it. It's just crazy. This is more of an end game stage than an actual freaking regular stage, and it's just wow. It's just simply wow. I literally had to practice for a week in order to beat the stage. Like, that just shows you how much time you really had to put into the stage in order to beat it. And then even when you get to the boss, it's even more annoying because if you lose to the boss, guess what? You gotta start the whole stage all over again from Act 1. It's just like the most draining experience, one of the most draining experiences you'll ever have in a Sonic game. It's just, oh my god. This is the stage that really made me lower my standards about Sonic Advance 2. Like I said, it's a good stage, it's just that the fact that it demands so much of you and that the boss is so freaking impossible, it just drains it out of you. I literally was about to quit the game for a while when I got to the stage because it was just so aggravating. But no, little did I know, it gets worse. After you beat this stage, you get to do Techno Base, and I think there's like 2 other stages after that if I remember correctly. But no, the worst is the last boss. I praised the last boss in part 1 because you got to do, you know, they pay homage to part 1 and part 2's like first bosses. But oh boy. In this one, the last boss is a freaking gauntlet of all the bosses you face in this entire game. That's right. Every Eggman boss you faced up to this point, you had to battle them all over again. With 3 lives, mind you. 3 freaking lives. And it's already bad enough that Sky Canyon was hard enough, but now you gotta fight that boss along with it. And if that's not enough, after you beat all the bosses, you gotta fight another robot at the end. This is another part that got me stuck on the game for 2 weeks. 2 freaking weeks. I hate the bosses in this game so much, and it's the fact that the games are like, oh, well, we're so proud of how the bosses were, we want you to fight them all together at once. Even Mega Man was merciful. I mean, at least with Mega Man, you had a break in between the bosses and they give you energy or something like that. This game, you just gotta fight all of them back to back to back to back. And once again, you have to do it perfect, because if you don't, you gotta start all over again. It just, wow. Sky Canyon, the bosses, and the last boss rush just killed this game for me. I just hated it. It just ruined the game all over. I wondered how did it go from being so awesome like in the first few stages in Sonic Advance 1 and then just reduce itself down to this. It was like, what the hell happened? I was just like, I just couldn't deal with it. It was just wow. But eventually I did beat it, and at the end, I didn't feel accomplished. I just felt like I just survived, like, you know, some kind of torture, because this game was just, ugh. Just the stuff that you went through. Like I said, once you get to Sky Canyon, it's just the game just completely just goes on like extra hard mode out of nowhere. and for no reason why either. It just does it, just for shits and giggles. It was just annoying. I mean, if Sky Canyon was like the last level, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. I mean, like I said, in Sonic Advance 1, Egg Rocket Zone was annoying to me, but like I said, at least it was like near the last level, so I didn't mind it. But Sky Canyon wasn't even the last level. It was like 3 levels away from the last level. It was no reason for it to be that hard and demanding, and yet they did it. I just could not get behind it. I just was like, wow. It just blew my mind that this game just really went down that bad. But overall, like I said, there's some people who still do like the game despite those flaws I've mentioned. I just couldn't handle it from that point. Like I said, I do like that this game is mostly high-speed action. The paths and everything like that, the speed. This game has some really good stage design, and I really had a lot of fun with it. But just the Sky Canyon, the bosses and that boss rush at the end, I just couldn't give it that. I just couldn't deal with it. I just couldn't give it the nice rating that it deserved. But let's see what my thoughts are on Sonic Advance 3. I mean, it's my second place game, so surely there's a redeeming quality in it, right? Right? Following the collapse of Sonic Advance 2, I moved on to Sonic Advance 3, and I was pleasantly surprised because this game is actually really well done. The first thing you'll notice that's different is that now Sonic has hub worlds, map worlds, whatever you want to call it. Either way, I just call it a nice little playful, I don't want to say ripoff, but like kind of homage to Kirby Adventure, because Kirby Adventure was basically the same way. You basically have one little map area room where you can go to different zones of the world, and it also can complete with bonus stages. You can win more lives or with Kirby more powers. But most of the time, just more lives and ranks and stuff. This was actually really essential to me for me in this playthrough. I really like this because now you don't have to do every freaking zone in one run. Now each zone was basically broken off into different warp rings that you can get to. So now, you know, I didn't have to do like all 3 like acts in one thing. I can just do act 1, take a break, and then come back and do act 2. Because the basic thing is all you gotta do is the 3 acts, and you can face the boss. And so it was perfect to me. I like that. I like the fact that they fixed that. That would have came in serious handy when I was doing freaking Sky Canyon. You know, yeah, after I freaking take on Robot Eggman, you know, I can just go back and just go straight to him. I don't have to do all the freaking levels all over again. Yeesh. Anyway, Sonic Advance 3 was really nice. I like the stages, but man, are they long. Basically, they all follow the same pattern. The first act is like incredibly long, second act is like medium long, third act is usually short, and then you fight the boss, which is usually annoying in their own retrospect, but hey, they're the boss, that's what it's supposed to be. But there are some problems with this game too. One thing about this game is that Sonic is a lot faster, and when I say faster, I don't mean faster as like he was from part 2 to part 1. I mean faster as in he's like really slippery. For some reason, like, he's always freaking moving. Even when you're like trying to stand still, it's really hard to move. Now, normally this wouldn't be a problem, but the one thing is they made this game way too freaking platformy. In Sonic Advance 2, they made the game nice and more high-speed action. This game, they did the opposite. They made it very platformy. Seriously, once you finish the Route 99 world, after that, the game becomes super platformy. Oh my god, just like endless pits off the ass in this game, and it's just so aggravating. And what's worse, Sonic has gotten like weaker. I mean, seriously, in other games, like almost every Sonic game, like Sonic's like awesome. He can like spin dash into enemies, stuff like that. In this game, he's like a wuss. I mean, like for some reason, I can't hit enemies in this game with Sonic. It's like the most weirdest thing. Like, I tried to hit them like every freaking time, nothing. It's just so stupid. I hate it to death. I mean, like, how do you go from like this super awesome hedgehog to now, oh my god, I have to avoid enemies? It's just, wow, what did they do to him? It was just aggravating. However, but I forgot to mention another thing. One thing I really did like that they fixed in this game at last, the rail grinding. They finally fucking fixed the rail grinding. Now you don't. Sonic doesn't have to get on at the very beginning to grind on the rail. As long as he his feet are touched near the rail, he will grind on it. This is like a very important thing because it led to a lot of cheap deaths in part 1 and in part 2, and I really hated that. But now they finally fixed that problem, and I was really happy about that. Of course, I didn't fix the other problems, like, Sonic being weak against enemies and freaking the game design being, like, more platformy than anything. I seriously didn't like that this game was, like, really platformy. I mean, I know why they made it more platformy, but at the same time, I really think it's stupid. So the reason why they made this game more platformy was this: they did a new system. Now, Sonic can play with partners now. You can actually play with different characters in this game. Back then, in 1 and 2, you could only play as one character. Sonic, and you had to lock all the other, characters as you move on with the game. This one, now you work with 2 characters simultaneously. So basically, Sonic's not the only one that's going to be running around the game. There's going to be other characters. So obviously, they had to build the stages accordingly to different characters. No, not every character is going to be running really fast and stuff like that. Some characters can't run that fast. Some characters, are going to be moving slower than Sonic. They need to, they need more platforming for those people, like Amy and Cream and Knuckles. They're not as fast as Sonic and stuff like that, so they're gonna need, that's why I think they made the game more platformy. And so I understand that, and I understand that's why they made it more platformy, and it's alright, but it just really, it aggravated me, the fact that, well, if you're gonna do that, why did you make Sonic so freaking slippery, though? Does make no excuse. I mean, it just makes the game really hard to play as Sonic. It's even worse because one of the bosses in this game, I got stuck on for 2 days because of this. The boss at Twinkle Snow is just it's like, he's not impossible, but he's really hard for Sonic, because basically, as you see in the video here, you have to keep jumping on these platforms and make them hit him. But like I said, since Sonic moves like he's constantly on ice, even when he's not, he keeps jumping past the platforms or walking off them with his slippery shoes, and then you fall off and die. You gotta do it again. It was freaking aggravating, but like I said, because the fact that now you can just go right to the boss after you lose, it wasn't as bad. I mean, it's still annoying that you gotta keep doing it over and over again, but at the same time, at least not with Sky Canyon where, oh man, I lost Eggman and I gotta do all Act 1 and 2 all freaking over again. At least now all I gotta do now is just jump around go around the rings and just go straight to the boss. Easy. And so, I didn't mind it as much, but yeah, that was one of the things that annoyed me. The level, aside from, like I said, the platform level design and everything like that, this game was pretty cool. I really did enjoy it. Also, like the fact that you had to switch characters in this game. I mean, I went through this game with only Sonic, but there was times I had to switch characters. For example, in Toy Palace, the boss there, you can't use Sonic and Tails. You had to, well, you could, but it's really hard. In my opinion, the best combination was Sonic and Amy, because when Sonic teams up with Amy, he changes his spin dash attack to using the Pico Hammer, which makes it easier to hit Eggman. So that's one of the things in there too. Another thing is the very final boss. I could not beat it with Sonic. It was just impossible with Sonic. I just couldn't do it. I had to use the easiest tag team, which was Knuckles and Tails, I believe, because Knuckles has a double jump, which makes it easier to hit Eggman at the end. All in all, like I said, Sonic Advance 3 was really good. There's not really much different to say about it compared to Part 1 and 2, because basically I raised, there wasn't really that much different from it aside from the hub worlds and being able to now, go to the acts accordingly, not having to do them all over again when you lose. But also, like I said, I like the character switching. I thought that was really cool that with each character combination you do, your characters will do different things. Another example is that when you're teamed up with Tails, Sonic will do a power slide, and when you team up with Knuckles, the slide does more it's like a bigger slide, so it does more damage. It's pretty cool stuff. I mean, it makes the game, it makes you want to experiment with different character combinations to see what you can unlock in the level. And I gotta say, I like the fact that they did that with the game. It made it really creative. It made it really fun to do that, because it wasn't like Sonic's not the only one in this game. There's other characters in the game you can use. I think that's what the creators were trying to tell you in this game. And I give them points for that. Yeah, the fact that they're trying to make you different combinations, the fact they're trying to make you explore different parts of the level. Because certain parts of the level you can't reach with certain combinations. For example, there's certain parts of the level where you had to be teamed up with Knuckles in order to break through a wall, or you had to team up with Tails so you can do their team attacks that can get to higher places. You know, they really thought ahead with this game. They really thought outside the box, and I gotta hand to them. I really like that. The fact that they really made you like, you know, want to fool around with the game, and like in order to fully explore and really take advantage of how fun it is when you actually get into it. And I gotta admit, it was awesome. The only thing I didn't like about this game was freaking, what's that place? Chaos Angel. There it was. Oh my god. The hardest 3 stages you'll ever do in your entire life. I mean, I remember what I was saying about with Sky Canyon. Well, for me, the stages in this game that got me stuck for a while was Chaos Angel. Oh my god. Talk about ultimate platforming. Chaos Angel was definitely like some of the hardest 3 stages I ever had to do in a Sonic game. But once again, I let it slide because it's the last stage of the game before you have to fight the final Eggman robot. So I let it slide, but I'm not gonna lie, I was stuck on there for a good, I think that's another one I was stuck on there for at least a good week. And, it took forever. It's basically a lot of platforming, tons of fucking bombless pits, and the stage's designs was just really aggravating. I mean, you really had to study the stage in order to beat it. And of course, as always, Act 1 was took freaking forever to beat, and just Act 2 and 3 were just like weird, and you had to learn what the patterns were in order to beat them. But like I said, once again, I hate saying it over and over again, but that's how much I love this aspect. You can just jump straight to those acts after you beat the previous act. So once I beat Act 1, I can just jump straight to Act 2 and learn the stage before I had to like go through it all over again. So it wasn't that bad in the end. I mean, it's aggravating you have to learn the stage and go through all the nonsense, but still, at the end of the day, the fact that I don't have to, you know, do Act 1 all over again just to start over is a pretty reassuring fact. It makes the game, you know, it makes it less of a headache. And I think if Sonic Advance 2 had that feature, I probably would like the game more than Part 3. I don't know, but still. It's hard to tell, but yeah, that's my honest opinion on that. So that's really all 3 Sonic Advance games. I mean, I enjoyed every single one of them, but like I said, Sonic Advance 1 was the perfect one in my opinion. It's held closest to the Sonic formula. It had the perfect balance of platforming and the perfect balance of high-speed action. That was the one game I was able to beat in one sitting. Sonic Advance 2 and 3, I really had to put some time into in order to beat them. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what I really expect out of a Sonic game. Sonic games, you really like, you know, you don't really play them for like the longness and longevity of the game. You play it because it's like something you can pop in and just have fun with. I mean, I'm not saying it because the games took time to beat that they're bad. It's just saying it just doesn't feel. It's not really feel much of a Sonic game if it takes like freaking weeks and like ever just to beat the dang game. I mean, you can pop in Sonic Generations, the latest title, and you can beat that in like a day or two because it's not really that impossibly hard. It holds true like how Sonic was, and that's what makes it such a good game. The fact that it stays true to, you know, how Sonic is. High speed action, platforming. It's not one above the other. It's not like, you know, the bosses are incredibly hard or anything like that. It's just perfect, just like it is. And that's how I felt Sonic Advance 1 was. It was just literally perfect. Stage design, bosses, everything. Like I said, you know, the last level was, the Egg Rocket level was annoying, but at the same time, you expect it because it's the last level. I mean, I hate Wing Fortress in Sonic 2, but once again, it's near the last level, so it's supposed to be hard. You know, it's not supposed to be easy anymore. You're supposed to, like, you know, start getting a challenge because you're near the end. You gotta work for it. Sonic Advance 2, that freaking roadblock of Sky Canyon and everything like that, I just can't stand it, and it just kills the game for me at all, just period. But like I said, the beginning half of the game is good, and I did enjoy the first few stages of the game, I'm not gonna lie. That's why I give the game, like, you know, a pretty good rating in the first stages. This is after Sky Canyon where it gets bad. Sonic Advance 3, I really enjoyed what they're trying to do. I like the hub worlds. I like the fact that, you know, they had the tag team option. The fact that you can do different things with different combinations of the characters you use. Like using Knuckles and Tails, or Sonic and Amy, or Tails and Cream. There's so many different things that different characters can do, and the game really forced you to try to experiment in order to fully enjoy the game. And I really thought that was freaking awesome. The thing I didn't like was, like I said, it was just way too platformy, and it felt less of a Sonic game, and it started more towards a Mario game as you got further into the game, which I didn't like. That's why I still say it's my second favorite, but Sonic Advance 1 definitely was my fave. But, you know, as always, it's just my opinion. It's not fact. It's not like, you know, everybody says Sonic Advance 1 is the best. Some people say Sonic Advance 2 was the best. Some people say Sonic Advance 3 was the best. This is my personal opinion, so take it as you like it. But I really hope you guys enjoyed it. All in all, like I said, the Sonic Advance series was really well done. I had a lot of fun being not only play Sonic Advance 2, but the fact that I was able to, like, you know, play these games, not never playing them before, it was a really nice Sonic experience to feel all over again, to have a nice 2D Sonic game before I went to Sonic Adventure. It was nice to know that, you know, there was some more 2D action that was actually pretty decent for Sonic. And I look forward to playing some more of his titles, if there's anything past generations, that is. We'll never know. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and as always, this is Cooliex Twilight Dragon, signing off.